Welcome. You have made it to Living Limitless. Play your way to freedom. We're here to join with you as you connect, play, and awaken your power, your freedom, and your expansiveness. I'm Andrea Luzon. My guest today is Ulrika Sullivan. I want to tell you all about her. She helps busy working women see their life in a new light. She's a mom, wife, intuitive spiritual life coach, energy healer, yoga teacher, writer, and podcaster. Her passion is to help you find your inner calm, align with your natural energy so that you experience a life of balance professionally, personally, mentally, physically, and spiritually. You can visit her work at ulrikasullivan.com. So, Ulrika, welcome. I would love to start with just passing the torch to you by hearing more about your work in your words and especially what inspires you to stay in the work.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you for inviting me to this. And I am so excited to be here and speaking with you today. A little bit about me. I am an intuitive spiritual life coach, as you said, and I have a lot of different other things that I work with others on, but coaching is my main piece that is bringing everything else in that I do into the coaching. So that's um, and what I do, I work mostly with women who are either feeling that they're somewhat stuck in their life. Either I use the word autopilot because that is what I find a lot of people come to me because they really are in a phase of life where they realize something's got to change. And in addition to that, they're also curious about spirituality. Maybe I've, often they say, "Oh, I've always wanted to start meditate, but I have never done it." And some people are very experienced meditators, but want to go to the next level. So there's a plethora of potential scenarios that I work with in people's lives. What's the center around that is really that shift, if you will, from being stuck on autopilot, whatever you want to call it, into more of a balanced ease, flow, opening up to feel more alive, enjoying life. And that shift can be so transformational.
Mm, I love that. So I'm hearing you say you love being getting to be a part of watching a woman spread her wings and fly.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. I love
And that's really what inspires me about my work is I see so many times almost per day these transformational shifts that I am part of in partnership with someone that goes through the process of coaching. And that is the inspiration for my work, really, because it is a life changing experience. And why I'm saying experience is that to grow, we all have to experience. It doesn't often happen when we just kind of read or watch or listen to something. It has to be experienced. And that's what I witness every day with clients. They experience that transformational shift. And that really is what is the entire inspiration behind what I do.
I love it. Thank you for sharing that. And I am curious, a lot of individuals who move into the process of reawakening and, getting back in touch with their more spiritual nature, their purpose in life, their courage. A lot of times individuals have to have a breakdown to break through. And or possibly for some, it's just a much more slow and gradual evolution. And so I'm curious, as you came into the work as you're doing it today with your clients, Tell us about your path to doing that work.
Yes. And so I was this busy mom, if you will, highly multitasking, corporate job, lots of business travel, things like that. And of course, I found myself on autopilot, right? And so that really escalated more and more. I had young kids, and one day I realized, and there was a series of events. The universe basically told me, Ulrika, you need to make a shift. But as on autopilot I just kind of put the blinders on and went forward. But it all snowballed into a situation where I actually lost my job through a layoff, and the company, had to lay off people because they had to downsize. And that's when I realized this is my call. This is the rock bottom, because I should also mention that I was married to my job. That's how important my job it was in my life. It was my whole, I would say, my whole identity. And I have seen that now working on the coaching side, that so many are putting their whole identity into something like a job. But for me, that was really the rock bottom that created this shift for me. And yeah, I got curious. Like, what does this all mean? So yeah, that's really what led me to this work. And now a lot of synchronicities showed up. Synchronicities are signs, obviously, that the universe is giving us, and we can choose to listen to them or not. But for me, it was a series of synchronicities that led me to this path, and me sitting here today.
Wow.
And it started with becoming a yoga teacher. It led me to become a life coach. It led me to spiritual awakening. It led me to become an energy healer, and so on. It led me to create a company and a business that integrates all of that into one. So yeah, it definitely was a dip before it could go up again.
Yes, I love I'm also hearing that you were able to take some of the background information. You mentioned pharmaceuticals. Is that part of what you incorporate with your clients now?
So my background, my professional career has been 20 plus years in pharmaceutical research and development. But what I turned that knowledge and business savvy into, if you will, is now I work with more natural remedies as well, incorporating, for example, essential oils and all the that type of work in my energy healing work as well. So it's knowledge is never lost. I feel that in my case and many um, situations, we can use what we already know, but in a different way. And that's exactly what I'm serving people in a different way now than I did before. It's just a shift in how I show up. And I think that's so beautiful, because many people that wants to make a transition in their life, they think that they need to lose everything that they've built. And in my case, and I found that the truth is that nothing is lost. We just transform that energy into something that's closer to what we're meant to do.
Yes.
So
I'm hearing a lot of wisdom. And in wisdom, I know a lot of people are struggling right now. We have been experiencing a pandemic in 2020, and I'm not going to speak for 2021, but we've in 2020 we had this, upheaval of our world. And so I know a lot of people are experiencing what I would call a trigger, when, things aren't going as you expected. You're feeling like you're in a situation that is out of vibration, or unpleasant. As as a leader in this area, when you are feeling like you're up against something that isn't in your vibration, or that something in right in front of you isn't as expected, so you're feeling something triggering you, how do you recommend, what works for you, and do you recommend anything to your clients when there's that jolt of, like, you're feeling that rush of anger or sadness or shock, and you don't want to react from that place, you want to react from a more loving place? What tools do you use?
Yes. And I can give you an example of what I used to do and what I do now to kind of exemplify this shift that can be made. And um, in the past, I can see myself right now being triggered by, let's say, an overloaded schedule. And I lie in my bed Monday morning at 6 a.m. and I'm anxious, right? Because I know this full packed week in front of me is, and with a long to-do list on my nightstand. That's a trigger. That was a trigger for me.
Mhm.
And what I did then was I put my blinders on and I went ahead with the week
Mm.
without feeling, without engaging my heart. So only logic. What I do now, I still have, I'm still a mom. I'm a busy woman. But what I do now, when I'm lying in bed on Monday morning, I'm not anxious anymore. And the shift is that first thing in the morning, I take care of myself.
Mm.
I ask my heart, what does my soul need this week? Because that's a very different question than that to-do list that was on my nightstand before.
Mhm.
And just by answering that question, followed by a meditation and free journaling, that is losing up that energy of the anticipation of the week. So what was a trigger for me in the past is no longer a trigger. I might have a few, notes on my nightstand still, but never such a long to-do list with things to check off that I had before. I'm intentionally, that's a no-go for me. Like I don't do that anymore.
Mhm.
So I turn to myself and take care of myself, if you will. We can talk a lot about what can be, what can different practices that can
Yeah.
work there, but that's the essence of
Mhm.
the difference.
So I think I'm hearing you say that to handle triggers, you start your day in your heart, or
Yes.
grounded in your values before marching forward into, with the blinders on into our day. And then what if, your kid throws um, a plate at your head? What about that moment? What does Ulrika do
When something
when,
is unexpected.
yeah, like in that moment of, like, or like not
Yeah.
even a stranger hitting your car. Let's go with the kid throwing a plate at your head. Because I know you have tweens and teens, or
Yes.
tween teens. And so I'm sure there's super grounded people, but not everyone has that experience, or like, the dog just pooped in, like,
Yeah.
on your foot while you were
Mhm.
on the phone, like something that's like really
Yeah.
in your face. I just know with the condition of the world, so many of us are just, there's just moments that,
Yes.
are just really intense, and you just
Showing
find
up.
yourself,
Yeah.
you
Things are
find,
showing up all the time for me.
yeah,
But what's the difference now is that I really have this um, priority of actually seeing myself from above, if you will. I can look down on a situation, even if
yeah,
it's such a surprising thing as
yeah,
um, there is this element of, okay, what's the big picture here?
right.
What's can I observe myself in this, and how do I want to respond? There is this millisecond of
Mm,
space that is in existence now that was never part of my life before.
mm,
So that's really the shift. And
mm,
and to me, it's all about this self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
It all starts, it did start for me with being curious, increasing the self-awareness, being almost like stepping out of on oneself to say, okay, what is this situation? Am I part of it? Can I look into it without engaging in it for a millisecond?
Yeah. I heard
So
a re-
that's
oh, go ahead.
no, so that's how I would yeah, go about the situation that if it were to
Mhm.
happen now, like
Right. Plate.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Not that that's happened to me, but that's probably happened to people. Uh, I heard a researcher say something about the back of the brain versus the front of the brain. And I'm going to name them and I'm going to mess it up. But regardless, that typically we can function from here, more logic, more reason, rationale. And then there are situations that send us to the back of the brain. And all that can do is fight, flight, or freeze. And this is my understanding. And actually, it was Dr. Shamini Jain is the person I'm quoting. And so she was just talking about, because I love what you said about a bird's eye view of the moment. And she was kind of talking about that, can you visualize that as the tension is rising, like the dog just pooped on your foot or something, and you can feel like just this, uncomfortableness, this queasiness, this vibration is moving through you that doesn't feel good. And she was saying, you've shifted to back here. Can you, kind of like you said, can you get a bird's eye view of yourself and almost envision like a rainbow going from like the back to the front? Like, can you almost paint it in your mind like, whoa, the anger is rising, I must be hanging out back here. Let me envision coming back, and you and I could even, I'd even say maybe and drop into your heart a bit.
yeah,
But yeah, I thought that was just fascinating. A neurological view of, when those triggers are happening, you're going back into like like an animalistic tendency. You're in that. And so I liked how you were just saying, get a bird's eye view and maybe ask yourself who you want to be and
yeah.
come back, come back to like alignment instead of.
Yes, and the big shift here is really to notice that there is an option
Mm,
to
mhm.
go to that bird's eye view, because if I look back a number of years, there was no bird's eye views, right? There were
Yes.
it was just
React.
like reaction full
Yeah.
on, and I was dealing with a lot of guilt sometimes because of that reactivity, especially with my kids were younger.
Mhm.
But this shift is major, in terms
Mm,
of that's really where it all starts, when we can start catching ourselves and make that choice
mhm.
out
Yeah.
of the bird's eye view. Yeah.
I love so we're talking about triggers. Um, so the title of the series is about living limitless and playing our way to our freedom. So I'm wondering, when I say the word play in your daily life, what comes forward? So how are you incorporating play into your work or your personal life, and that showing up as translating into you being more powerful and more free and more expansive?
Yes, I honestly, play for me, it has been really hard to kind of rediscover because back in the day when I was on autopilot, there was no play, right? There was just go, go, go.
Mhm.
So to rediscover this play aspect, this playfulness that is within everyone, for me, on a daily basis, I turn to my animals. I have dog, 3 cats, a guinea pig, but because the animals are really inspiring me with the play energy,
Mm,
and that's just a big reminder for me. And a lot of people have pets, but they don't
mhm.
maybe don't look at pets in that way. But pets are really playful, and they're not go go go. in that sense.
Mhm.
So that's the first thing that reminds me of play in the morning
Mhm.
and throughout the day. But otherwise, I really try to incorporate some sort of music, which also is creativity to some extent, but it makes me playful. And
Mhm.
I also play for me is creation. So I like doing things with my hands
Mhm.
as well. So I combine sometimes a day I really just go do something with my hands, whether it's in the kitchen or yeah, not so much matter what it is as long as I get my hands going. But I think a lot of people also are very logically trained. So we sit in front of the computer and many hours a day, many of us. So that's not really speaking to our playfulness more than our creative mind sometimes, but just engaging the body, integrating with the body is playfulness with for me, and dance, music
Mhm.
is what makes it for me.
Yeah. I am suddenly feeling called to ask you, how do you get teenagers to play? I have my twins are 7 right now, and so I don't want to speak into this too much, but I find myself thinking, man, if I have challenges now, what is it going to be like when they're
Yeah.
teenagers? So how do you pull
It
your
is hard.
kids
It is
out
really
of
hard
yeah.
to make them play. But I think because I get this question from one of my daughters, especially the youngest one, and she says, "I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do," and it's like, uh, well, let me take your phone for 30 minutes, and you come up with something. And sure enough, she is right. She's
Mhm.
going to get some kind of paints or picking up a book or something. Like there is this playfulness about it
Mhm.
when she's not on her electronics. But so everyone has that playfulness within us. We just have to kind of decide that that's what
Mhm.
we want to call out. But
Right.
it's hard to prioritize for youngsters today. And playfulness likely is also something that is very encouraged up in the brain, but not so much with the body anymore.
Mm.
Like, okay, sports and things like that are very playful, some of them, like the where you engage the body. But yeah,
Well,
I
thank
wouldn't say it's an easy task to help the teenagers to become more playful, but
Yes. Well, thank you for that. Because, and even for me, I sometimes confuse or I fuzz the line between doing and playfulness.
yeah,
So, because I've been an event coordinator, and I think I have. If I were a dog, I would be a sheep herder, because I'm like, let's all get together and let's all get together and let me, so that we're together. Let me guide you in like to a board game or to a card game or going outside and playing soccer. So yeah, I get to sometimes just remember that like tickling is fun and gets people laughing. And anyway, but I
The-
sometimes, it's interesting how playing in our society is often structured.
yes, I was just going to say that in the moment, that's really play. Whenever we find ourselves in the moment of anything, that is pure play. But as you say, the scheduled part of this is not really feeding the play or encouraging the play. It's just
Mm,
doing at that time. But when I find myself doing something in the moment, whether it's doesn't have to be to create something, but something where my mind is free to go wherever it wants.
mm,
That's play for me. And that's what I'm looking forward to my kids to kind of be in that moment. And that then it's like it's all natural.
mhm. So that's bringing me to asking you, what is living limitless? When I say living limitless, what comes forward and how do you feel you're creating that for yourself, and how are you helping your clients create that in their lives?
Yes, it's such a great question because limitless is, is without boundaries, right? And living limitless for me is really to call on that essence of each soul. Like for your own soul, you know what, when you are in your essence, when you're calling on that playfulness, for example, when you're feeling in flow, that is the moment when you're limitless. And that's what I'm creating with my clients too, because so many filters, and I don't like the word blocks necessarily, but it's a lot of filters that or conditioning, or things that we think we should do or should or be, that prevents us to from showing our limitlessness
Mhm.
of our soul. And that's kind of the encouragement, and the coaching process actually helps opening up that, removing some of the filters, removing some of the subconscious filters that have been put there without, we don't even know why sometimes, right?
Mhm.
So really that's the process of bringing out that limitless life. And what I would say also about limitless living is that it's also filled by feelings,
Mm.
feelings of love, like feelings of feeling in harmony with yourself, with your environment, with others. That's limitless in that, in those situations where we feel like I'm just really at home with myself and my environment and who I'm with, and so on. And that's in that moment, it's a limitless moment for
Mhm.
sure. Now, as a human, we shouldn't expect us to feel like this limitless at all times, but it's possible. It's possible to one by one removing those filters, or at least getting to know them, getting to know what is actually holding us back from, or preventing us from living limitlessly. So the awareness there, we might decide, now I want to keep this one because I want this filter to still be there. But it's part of becoming that self-aware that, okay, this is what I'm dealing with, and maybe I'm ready to deal with it now, or maybe it's going to be later.
Mhm. Yes,
um,
amen. I am loving that. And I'm really hearing that working with you really does it opens your client up to their potential. I think they
that's the
show,
goal, yeah,
yeah.
wherever they feel that they're going, or becoming, I should say,
Mhm.
because it's a process of becoming. That's um, you know that's what we do.
Mhm. Yes, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I really do feel that we get to step into our potential when we see where we are holding ourselves back. And like you, when you're talking about the filters, the self-imposed limitation, and it's very likely that that filter or that limitation was created when we were much younger. The misbeliefs we have about ourselves because someone one day said something, or maybe there was a pattern that was showing up in our elementary school, and then we decided that we are XYZ, about our worthiness, you know. So I love that as you help your clients step into their limitlessness, that it's really about taking down those barriers.
Yes, and um, it's getting to know what is actually holding back, because a lot of people that I work with also, they have no idea that this was impacting them at this level. And to actually realize that, oh my goodness, I've done this for the past 10 years, or I've been in this situation for past 10 years, and I have no idea how it
Mm.
impacted me this way. And it could be any situation, or but it's that awareness. Okay, what do I do about it now then? Okay, then that process becomes more an active process of how can I step into this limitless space that actually is right in front of me. So it becomes, a way of actually making those steps towards that limitless life, which becomes very rewarding for not only for me but for the person that's
Yeah.
doing it.
Hmm. Yes. So much awareness. I love it. Opening that door and walking through it.
Yep.
I loved what you said in the beginning. Trust the process, do the work.
Yes, that's my mantra.
Yes. Love that. I love that. So that is, let's see. You did talk a little bit earlier about practices, and I think I heard your morning routine. I think I heard you talking about your heart and talking about meditating
Mhm.
and talking about journaling. Would you mind going over those and then maybe embellishing on anything else that is a practice that you utilize to keep you, I guess, keeping you to just to raise your vibration and to help you stand in being a reawakened, expansive, free, powerful woman?
Yes. And I, when it comes to practices, I'm very big on engaging both mind, body, and soul at the same time. So that has really been the concept for me at all times. I couldn't only be a coach, right? I felt that if I'm teaching people to actually engage their and release energy in their body as well, because I feel that self-care is very it's mispronounced, if you will, or misunderstood, because
Hmm.
self-care a lot of times is portrayed as something we need to do on to our external
Right, like the
uh,
body.
exterior, if you will,
Yeah.
right? But self-care, when it comes to, and with self-care, I define it as, for example, meditation. I define it as yoga. I define it as journaling. I'm defining it as any use of any intuitive tools that are out there to, there's a lot of different intuitive tools that can help you connect
Mm.
with your intuition more. To bake
Mm.
all of that together is self-care for
Mm.
me, and it's to really nurture the soul. So it's a different perspective of self-care than we may meet sometimes. Oh, you can just go to a spa or do your nails. I mean, I love that too, but
Mhm.
there's more levels to self-care that actually is part of what a morning routine could look like. For example, I do teach people how to create their morning routine as well, because for me that was like, I had never, what self-care was like, had no idea a couple of years ago that it could have such an impact to actually only commit to, let's say, 10 minutes or 5 minutes of meditation per day can change your whole, inner process.
Mhm.
And as it expands from there, so what I do is I start my day always with a meditation, often a guided meditation, because meditation for me is like my time to just be
Mhm.
only with me, and nothing is really happening right during meditation. So it's a
Mhm.
void, it's a space where I can
Mhm.
just be. Um, and a guided meditation many times are great because you can just sit back and follow. There's no doing in it.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, and often I follow that up with intuitive writing, intuitive journaling, because I have found, and I teach my clients this as well, it's a great intuitive tool to get in contact with your soul, your true self. And that's really what we're working with when it comes to transformation and stepping into your limitless life. It's to work with what is truth for you. So
Right.
I often feel that that's a yes to a morning routine, to include that.
Mm.
And then after, maybe include some kind of body movement, whether it's stretching, yoga, preference. I find there's a lot of energy based yoga practices, such as Kundalini yoga, for example, is very energetic based, in my
Mm.
opinion. So that's that's what I practiced
Right.
along with other styles of yoga as well. But
Mhm.
it really is to engage also the breath and yeah.
Right.
So that's the fundamental morning routine
Mhm.
components, if you will, that I use for self care.
Yeah, I love, and that's just, it sounds like it's really feeding the soul. It really does. And I love how you are open to recategorizing or redefining meditation as just me time, that it can be journaling, it can be silent meditation, it can be guided meditation. And did I hear you? And I know I've heard people talk about walking meditation, no,
Absolutely.
no headphones in, oh, I suppose you
Yep.
could listen to a guided meditation while on a walk. That
Absolutely.
actually
Yeah.
sounds like it would feed the soul, feed the
Yeah.
heart.
The important part is to find what works for you. And I'm speaking to everyone that's listening or watching this.
Yeah.
Find what works for you because
Mm.
that's your truth.
And maybe that's why a lot of people aren't doing it, because the definition they have in their mind is folding your legs in a complicated way and sitting still for 30 minutes
Yeah.
and not thinking of anything. And
Yeah.
that's,
Doesn't have to be that
that sounds like a
way.
lot.
And
Especially,
yeah.
yeah, that sounds like a lot. Like, that doesn't look like a comfortable way to sit. How can I not think for 30 minutes? Could we go a little deeper on the intuitive aspect of the journaling? A
Absolutely.
lot of times when I think of a diary or a journal, it's like, and I have heard of a gratitude journal, but I think of either gratitude journals or rehashing something like, here's what happened. So tell me about intuitive journaling.
Yes, yes. And I've had many diaries and journals in the past where I just did that, right? Today I did
Mhm.
that and we had that for dinner and it was fun, blah, 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 and all of that.
Mhm.
Intuitive journaling is really um, a technique where you allow your subconscious to actually come down to your hand and your pen. So, what
Mhm.
you're doing, you're actually bypassing your logic brain. And how to do that is actually, I often meditate like 5 minutes, which is just to sit in my me time in
Mhm.
this space where I don't have to do anything. I don't have to think anything. I'm just being, right? And then I connect with myself and I start writing. And I don't put anything like what needs to come down on the page. I don't put anything, I don't judge what comes down on the page.
Mhm.
And if nothing comes down on the page, that's fine too. But often I write, I can, go on and on and on, right? And that's intuitive writing where no expectations are put in. You're staying in this meditative state somewhat, right? Just right out of meditation, pick up your pen and just a blank page and start writing. You'd be surprised what comes out because it's a discovery. It's an excavation of your soul. And when we connect that voice with a tangible thing that comes out through a pen on a paper, it becomes real.
Mhm.
So that's the technique. And often I go back and it's like, oh, what did I write? And it's like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. Like, so you can learn how to channel your soul in that way. And I've learned that. And what people say when I don't know if I can do this, they they often have an expectation or they're worried about what's going to come out. So, but if you're curious, I turn it often into be curious
Yeah.
about what you can learn about yourself. And even if there are things that are coming out on the page that you don't like, that's a message too.
Yes. Right. That there's something pressing on you
Yeah.
that you get to look at.
And what it does, it releases energy. So maybe there's a lot of worries that we all carry, right? It sits in the body. If we can get it out on the page, it
Mhm.
actually releases.
Mhm.
So it's also a technique of lowering anxiety, lowering the energy of worry that many of us carry.
Mhm.
But a regular journaling practice is beautiful when it comes to kind of keeping that energy just and I don't know if you felt how you feel after you've journaled, like it feels good.
Mhm. Yes, I am in a group that meets once a week, and we always end with journaling.
Yeah.
And usually, because there's a guided meditation previously, so usually there's an obvious kind of a calling, write about what came forward from that, or what word came up when we, what when we experienced this visualization. And then if that doesn't work, I often recommend, just write 3 aspects of your life that you're grateful for. So yeah, but yes, it does. It feels like you wipe the slate clean when just sharing from your heart with a pen and paper.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to make sure that I give you a chance, not a chance. I want to make it clear that there are people out here watching us and wanting to work with you and excited to hear more about how to work with you. And so I know, Ulrika, that you have a perk or a gift for our viewer today. And I'd love to open the floor for you to share about that and tell us how to get it.
Yes, I'm excited to share my 7-step guide to protect your energy. And what that is, it's a number of exercises that will help you. Let's say you've been coming home from a stressful day, and there are 7 exercises in this free gift that you can use. You don't have to use them all at the same time, but there's different exercises for different things. So it's a guide on how you actually can protect your energy. And what I mean with that, when we go through our day, it's often that we come home either tired or drained, and that's a sign that we have been giving our energy away. And that can be also if we're talking to somebody in interactions with others, you may feel the difference. Sometimes somebody is filling you up with energy. Sometimes you're feeling drained after having talked with somebody. But in any situation where you feel you have been giving your energy away, these energy practices can help you come back to balance. So that's what this gift is for you. And if you're curious, you're also getting a little video from me where you can follow along and learn these practices. So it's, yeah, I would check it
Thank
out.
you. Yes, the link will be right below. So the link to get that, to get access to Ulrika's gift is right below this video. And so I'm also wanting to wrap up with you, Ulrika. And so there's someone watching and their life is going to transform and move forward and really grow into what that person is calling in if they work with you. And they're feeling a little trepidation and they're wanting to get to know you better, or they're wanting to leap into working with you. What would you like to say to that person?
Yeah. I would say hi first and welcome and congratulations, because it takes courage to actually take action. And if you're listening or watching this, if you're taking action, congratulations, because it's nothing is better than waiting another day, right? And what I'd like to say to you is make the leap, trust the process, and do the work.
Thank you. I'm clicking right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Come visit me on ulrikasullivan.com.
I've just really appreciated your joining with us today, Ulrika, and sharing from your heart, being vulnerable, being real, talking about your passions and talking about the evolution that is waiting for those of us that are wanting to dive into the work with you. So I just want to say thank you again so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Andrea.
Okay, so to the viewer, this has been Living Limitless, Play Your Way to Freedom. Thank you for being part of this series, for joining us here. I can't wait until next time, and we'll be back. Thank you. Hey.